Hey y'all, I'm Shelly Moth. Welcome back to Mask Monday. This is going to be a special edition where we're not going to focus on a specific movie or theme, but rather a specific artist. And that artist is going to be our friend and co-owner of Trick or Treat Studios, Justin Mabry. So I decided to do this different format for this week's video because I came in this morning and I was looking at all the masks we have here at Nightmare, and there were just a lot of oddballs and one-offs that... Did we ever turn my mic on? You can hear me, obviously. You would know. You would tell me. And there were a lot of like one-off masks or oddballs that didn't have a lot of other masks to go along with them to make a whole video out of. But luckily, the connective tissue between them was they were sculpted by the same person. A lot of them, anyways, were sculpted by the same person. And we end up talking about Justin in just about every video that we make. If you watch our other ones, you know that. That's because he usually sculpts at least one mask for every line that Trick or Treat Studios puts out. I'm sure that we're gonna make a lot of artist spotlight videos in the future, but Justin was just the obvious choice for the first one, not only because he's co-owner of Tots and because he's definitely sculpted more masks for the company than anyone else, but also he's just one of my favorite people. He's probably the first person that I met in this business, and he's helped and supported my mask making since the beginning. So let's dive into Candy Corn, which is a movie that he actually did the makeup effects for. All right, so as I said before, these are both from the movie Candy Corn, which is written and directed by another friend of ours, Josh Hasty. Both of these were designed and sculpted by Justin for the movie specifically, so the Trick or Treat Studios products come directly from the movie molds. When you first see this mask in the movie, it's like kind of a faded brown color and it's covered in dust. That's actually my favorite look of the mask in the film. But I do think that they made a good decision, Trick or Treat Studios, by making it look like the mask does towards the end of the movie after Jacob Atkins has killed a bunch of bullies. It's this like pumpkin orange color with blood all over it. Speaking of pumpkins, you can tell that the mouth and the nose are very reminiscent of a jack-o'-lantern. It's definitely intentional because the movie is just very much rooted in the spirit of Halloween. Speaking of Halloween, if you look at the eye cuts, it's very reminiscent of another famous movie killer that Justin's actually a little more known for sculpting all the time. I'm sure you have absolutely no idea who I'm talking about. But I actually really love the hair on here. It's very shiny, but it lays really well. The mask, just as a design, as a mask, is just so cool. It's just a classic Justin wet clay sculpture. It came out very good. They did an awesome job with it. But I couldn't talk about Candy Corn without also mentioning the pumpkin pail. Probably the coolest pumpkin pail I've ever seen. I know that Justin sculpted it in very little amount of time, and he sculpted over a fishbowl just to get that shape as fast as possible, and it's just very effective. It worked very well. The Trick or Treat Studios comes with this legit rope. Josh Hasty's Candy Corn. Just check it out if you haven't seen it yet. It's a fun movie. That's the movie that Justin worked on himself, but let's take a look at one of Justin's just original mask sculpts. All right, so this is Justin's Night Owl skull. It's just called the Night Owl skull because Justin's company before starting Trick or Treat Studios was called Nightowl Productions, and he still sells some masks through nightowlpro.com, but mostly he just uses Mabry Monsters as his moniker outside of Trick or Treat Studios these days. This mask is just one of my favorite designs. It's probably my favorite skull mask of all time, with the Don Post Pat Newman skull being a close second. I know that that mask heavily inspired this one, but the big difference between this one and that one would be that this one's just a lot more realistic looking, but it still maintains that cartoony look that we all love in a skull mask. Also, like the Pat Newman skull, there have been a bunch of different colorways that Justin has done over the years. So let's take a look at the variant that Trick or Treat Studios offers. All right, so now we have the Night Owl Blood Skull, which is the same sculpt as the last one that we saw, obviously. It's just been painted red, and they added some dripping blood going down the mask. The name is probably even a callback to the Don Post skull. They offered a red version of that skull that was actually called the Vermilion Skull, but people in the mask community have called it the Blood Skull for a long time. So just, in my opinion, probably just like a little callback for mask fans, a little Easter egg. The red version's really cool that Trick or Treat Studios offers. I would kind of like to see them do like a nasty brown decayed old version. I've often seen Justin paint his that way, and I think that they could do a really cool version of that. So I would like to see that. But anyways, that covers like a couple of like originals that Justin sells through Trick or Treat Studios, but let's look at a licensed character that's pretty obscure. All right, so we've got the Beast of Blood mask here. This movie is insane. Definitely check it out if you can find it. It's actually a sequel to the Mad Doctor of Blood Island. Both are worth watching, but The Beast of Blood, the sequel, is actually my favorite. This mask is super cool because in the film, Dr. Lorca separates this head from the beast's body and has it connected to a bunch of machines and kept alive separate of the body. So this mask is cool because it works as a mask or just a severed head prop, basically. Yeah, Justin did a perfect job with the sculpt. I love the whole head is basically a skull, and then his flesh kind of starts, and the flesh is just so disgusting. There's so much texture and really cool detail in this mask. The paint job works really well too. I will say generally the hair on this mask is gonna look better. Just honestly, whenever we do these videos, I just grab the masks off of the floor, and we've had this one for a while and it's gotten a little bit ratty. It kind of works for this mask, but I will say I'm buying this mask today and taking it home to rehair it. So check out my Instagram to see how that looks whenever I'm done with it. But anyways, it's a really cool paint job. I like the shiny teeth. It's just a creepy, nasty monster from a really creepy, nasty, cool movie. But we've got another creepy, gross monster to show you, so let's take a look at the Crypt Keeper. So here we've got the Crypt Keeper. He was from EC Comics' most famous title, Tales from the Crypt. He was the host. So he hosted every issue of it, but then he also would occasionally show up as a character in the stories. The art was originally done by Al Fieldstein and Wally Wood, who are more famous for like their sci-fi stuff with EC Comics, and also Johnny Craig, who's more famous for his pulpy crime noir stuff. But the art for the covers and the interiors was eventually turned over to Jack Davis, who did the most iconic images from the series for sure. Jack Davis is probably tied with Bernie Wrightson and Mike Mignola for my favorite monster illustrator, but Jack Davis really broke ground and paved the way for all the monster creators that kind of came after him. All that being said, this mask is really awesome. I can tell Justin Mabry was very inspired by the way that Jack Davis would draw this character, especially with this nasty kind of slobber at the mouth that's connected. Really cool that he sculpted that in there and they paint it white. Just very classic, iconic image of this. It's just one of my favorite mask sculpts that we have here in the store, honestly. I love the character. I love Tales from the Crypt. Another really cool thing about the paint job is this gross like brown splatter. Looks like the old kind of like moles and stuff on an old dude's forehead. And there's also a lot of other EC Comics masks that Justin has sculpted that I really want to get into the store, so we'll probably do a whole video. So we may end up talking about him again slightly, but this is one that we have, so I wanted to touch on him, and I wanted to touch him. It doesn't have like a neck. But it has this huge amount of hair on the back, so it kind of covers it up and looks really cool. The next mask we're going to look at does have a really big neck, and it's a pretty famous character that I think that you all probably like. All right, so we've got Victor Crowley here from the Hatchet series of films. So we've got Victor Crowley here from the Hatchet series. Just stop it. I'm gonna have the giggles now. So we've got Victor Crowley here from the Hatchet series of films by Adam Green. I really love the design of this monster, who's played by Kane Hodder, of course, who's famous for being a lot of people's favorite Jason, but I actually think he's best as Victor Crowley. This mask is just like super ugly and hard to look at, honestly. It's genuinely scary. I love the dead eyes and this really gross pussy color and his huge gash on his face. You also get like a really nice neck and chest even. It's a good bib. It's a big mask, and it kind of has like the silhouette of the Elephant Man. But he's not at all as peaceful, of course. He's a pretty nasty killer. I do like the Hatchet series of films, but I think the best part about them is certainly just the design of this monster and Kane Hodder's performance through the makeup, both of which are represented really well here in this mask. End of Mask Monday. So that's going to wrap up this week's Mask Monday. Let us know in the comments section if you enjoyed this slightly different format, as well as what other mask makers you'd like to see us feature in future videos. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and visit us at nightmaretoys.com. I'll see you in a week.